Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Inspiring Careers. My name's Dan Johnson and I'm here today interviewing another award-winning guest within the pharmaceutical industry. Her name's Katia and she recently won the Clinical Trial Administrator of the Year Silver Award for 2017. Good afternoon, Katia. How are you doing?
Hi, Dan. I'm very well. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. Katia, I want to get straight into asking you a whole bunch of questions. Firstly, let's talk about your award and how that came about. I understand people within companies are often nominated these things, but how was it for you? How did you come about the Pharma Times CTA of the Year award, and what did you have to go through in order to win silver?
The Pharma Times competition is pretty well known in the CRO and pharmaceutical industry. And that was almost the first thing that I was told when I joined PRA a year ago, that everybody can have a chance to go, and we were actually encouraged to do so. So I thought, why not? Let's see how my skills and knowledge fits into that. And so the competition usually starts in the autumn with the GCP test, which is the Good Clinical Practices, for those who don't know our acronyms. And you have to get at least, I don't remember if it's 80 or 85%, so a high percentage to pass to the next stage. And then you have to write an essay fitting into 1,000 words, which is not easy because I tend to write more.
Yeah.
And there's 2 questions that change every year. And if you pass the essay and if you get selected, you get to go to the UK. Usually that's where the final are hosted, where you, I forgot to say a very important thing. You either participate as a single person or a group. And then it's 2 different final types. So the first stage is the same for both final types. And then the final is, the group stays there for a day and have different challenges to compare themselves to other groups. And the single finals, at least for the CTA category, I'm not really sure about the other categories, but I assume they're pretty much the same. You have a case scenario on which you have to write a presentation. And in my case, it was a case scenario of the typical week of a CTA where you have everything planned and then the unplanned happens. And how do you fit the unplanned into your plans? What do you prioritize? How do you manage the stress and all the things that subsequently happen?
Yeah.
You have 45 minutes to prepare the PowerPoint presentation and then present it to some judges. So we had 3 this year from both the pharma and the CRO industry.
Okay.
And then you wait. You just wait to know if you've been good enough.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds quite interesting. So one of the big things then is being able to demonstrate your ability to adapt to unplanned work, something that's either urgent or just completely unexpected. Could you give us a bit more kind of insight into that? I mean, what kind of things can be unplanned, and how do you go about tackling such situations?
So how to handle the unexpected? Well, there are many things that might just change in the CRO and pharma industry. For instance, the CTA supports either project managers or CRAs, the monitors. So the monitor might have a change in the planned visits, might have an earlier visit. So you have to be prepared and support the monitor in just getting all the documents at site on time. So if you were planning to do it next week and it happens this week, well, you have to be prepared and ready to either shift your schedule, or if you're a good CTA, you plan in advance how many visits and just have the core documents ready so you don't lose much time preparing it. Or the project manager might have urgent and special requests coming from the clients that you have to accommodate. So you just put aside the usual reporting or the invoice reconciliation, because that can wait a couple of days, and accommodate the requests from the client.
Excellent, excellent. So I want to ask you then, as a clinical trial administrator, what would you say? What do you feel most passionate about this role, or why do you enjoy this role so much?
I enjoyed this role so much because if you think of it, it's about the patients. And sometimes we tend to forget it in our roles, in our jobs. We see numbers on the screen, we see randomization number, the patients are numbers. But we have to remember that it's people we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's people who are ill or have a rare disease or have a very common disease for which the drugs currently used don't work. So we're trying to find a way to help these people. And that's, I think, the main thing that makes me passionate about it. I feel that I can make a difference, even if it's just filing a document, but that document might be essential to get then the drug approved and marketed and help people. And in some cases, I'm working on a rare disease now. It might even be life-saving because there's currently no drug available for that disease. So it's, if you think of it, it's really a kind of a mission, actually. It's not just a passion. You just, like a doctor. It's the closest thing to be a doctor without actually having a medicine degree.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think as well that's one of my favourite aspects of working in a role. Obviously, me working in recruitment and careers. For me, it's all about the person I'm working with and their career and their future, and how I can help them move forward. With you, it's about your patients and how they can get better, how they can get what they need, how they can move forward. And for me, I've always enjoyed that service to others part of the job. That's something I get very passionate about. So I can completely relate. Obviously, two different services, but the same goal is it's just doing your best for others. That's why I love it, and I'm guessing that's why you love it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Fantastic, cool. Okay, then. So let's talk about what you feel has made you a successful Silver Award-winning CTA. What do you think are your top three success secrets to your career? What your top three advice for what's helped you win those awards and become as good as you've been this year?
I think the first one would be to always be curious. I've always tried to get more insight on what I'm doing, not just in a CRO environment, but always on the protocols that I've worked on, the disease that I've seen. So I did a lot of extra research whenever I started a new trial. What are the current medication for that disease? Why is the new one we're testing different? And how does it fit into the market? If there are any alternative treatments, anything around the disease, how the disease develops, and what are the patients feeling, and how can we help them. The second thing would be to also aim high. I mean, there are some people who just sit back and just do what they're asked.
Yeah.
I always try to ask for different things to be done and to learn from other roles, like the clinical trial manager or the monitors or even the PMs. So I always try to learn how to be better and also learn what other people do in other roles. So try to have a complete set of skills, not just the ones that relate in this moment to my position right now. Not just for future career, but it bounces back to the first point. Just be curious. Try and find out new things. And the third one is, it's a very silly one, but I found that it helped me. There are no stupid questions. I've always heard that, but it's actually true. So I've asked a lot of questions. How to do something, how to. And then I tried to find an improved way of doing the same things. Try and think a solution outside the box, but always asking questions. I think you might all just wind up to be curious and then just stop there in your daily activities.
No, that's a great answer, and do you know what? I think those are three really, really good pieces of advice. I think people should be more curious in their roles, because you're right. It's probably very easy to walk into your office, sit down at your computer, and just stick to your numbers, stick to your spreadsheet, stick to your email, and just kind of get on with your daily responsibilities. But having in other interviews as well, for Inspiring Careers, one of the things that has really stood out for me is that the award winners all ask questions about other roles. They look on where else they can get involved in the company. And is that how you started out? You obviously you wanted to learn how to be a good clinical trial administrator, but you looked around and thought, "Where's an opportunity for me to learn what other roles did in the company?" Did you start doing that early, or was that kind of later when you started learning from others?
No, I kind of started just from the beginning, from my first job. Because I started liking very much what I was doing. It's not what I studied for, because I have a degree in linguistics and literature.
Okay.
So it's something completely different. I almost by chance got my first job in a CRO. And I immediately liked what I was doing. So I started immediately asking questions. What are other people doing?
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago. We were starting to build the startup team, which is the team involved into the early stages of the trial, the submissions to the ethics, getting all the documentation in place so we can actually go and test the drugs on patients. So it was that in-between phase when I could still do some of the startup work and also the clinical work on the field with the monitors. So I always asked, for instance, if I could join the monitors on an on-field visit. It happened once, unfortunately. But or ask the CTMs to be more involved in the liaison with the client, or stuff like that.
Excellent. So what would you say? And I mean, you may have kind of just answered this question, but what would you say is the number one thing that is holding other clinical trial administrators back in their career? What's preventing them from being better CTAs?
Apart from, as we just said, just coming into the office, grabbing your coffee, sitting with your Excel spreadsheet, and then going back home. Also talking with my friends in the same position sometimes is also not feeling that you're worth enough or you can make a difference. You can feel that the clinical trial assistant is just an assistant, is there just to do what they're told, but it's not like that. There are so many ways you can make a difference in your company, and you just have to find the one that fits you best in this time right now and the place you're at. So just don't feel that you're not making a good enough job. Don't feel that you're stuck in your daily routine. You can find different ways to do something different, learn something new, and if you're lucky, proceed in your career. But just don't feel that you're doing an assistant job and that's the end of it. You can't do anything beyond what you do in your everyday work.
Thank you for that. That's a really strong message. Thank you for that. So for other CTAs, you would definitely say if they're feeling like they can't ask questions, or they're feeling a bit like, I think a common thing is maybe not necessarily fear, though that does come into it, but feeling like you can't ask for help because you don't want to appear like you're going to make a mistake, or you don't want to appear like you're doing something wrong, or you don't quite know what you're doing. I think it's definitely a very strong message to say to anyone feeling that. Look, Don't be afraid. There are no stupid questions. Be curious. Go seek out what other people do. Learn as much as you can. And these are all really, really good things that you're advising for other CTAs to do. Is that what you'd say? You'd agree with all that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's also maybe a self-esteem thing. You don't feel that you are in a position that would allow you to do that. But every job, every position allows you to just ask questions. There are no stupid questions.
Cool. Thank you. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so as a CTA then, look into your crystal ball. Okay. All CTAs have a crystal ball, of course.
Because we have to predict what the PMs will ask us.
Exactly. What do you think the future of your role looks like, and how do you think it will evolve?
Well, we see a growth in technology. As I said, I started 10 years ago and we had papers. And so, for instance, what we call the EDC, the electronic data capture, has seen a boom and has helped us a lot in not having to piles of paper on the desk. So what I see for sure is that we're going to go into that direction and get a lot of IT involved in our daily routines and jobs. And going with that, I see the role being a bit more remote based. So I see a lot of companies right now start having flexible working schedules. Like me, for instance, today I'm working from home.
Yep.
So 1 day a week is now becoming the norm for all the companies. And so I see going to that direction. If you have everything through the computer, there's no real need for you to stay in the office, even if it's nice to meet people. Also, most of the teams are international. So what I see is the CTA evolving into a more remote position, which entails some analytical skills. Because if everything passes through an Excel spreadsheet, you have to be able to process the data in a readable fashion, but also be able to analyze trends. So I see that the CTA will not be just the person who delivers the spreadsheets into a pivot table that looks nice for the client. Is also a person who sees the trends into that table, who tells the PM, the CTM, or the monitor, look, I see that we keep having, I don't know, one screen failed per month. What can we do? Or there's this data trend in this specific site. We see that there are always 15 queries open. What can we do about it? So that's one direction I see. Because we are getting more and more remote, what I see in the future that makes a successful CTA are people skills. And you would think that it's the exact opposite of working remotely just by yourself. But if you think that you have to liaise with a computer screen, Skype, emails, a successful person is a person that gets the message across in professional yet friendly manner. It's a person who can bound the team together as well. In the past, I've done that. I've been basically the liaison between the project manager and the local teams. They will just pass through me. So yes, I see that evolving remote work would also entail try and work on your people skill remotely. Try and be as communicative as possible. Because otherwise you just send an email and a thank you email and that's it. But you want to go beyond that.
I'd really agree with that. I think it's as well with working remotely, as more people can provide their services, can do their work from across Skypes, from across just using various platforms for presentations and file sharing and with all the great things that are out there. it's very tempting. It could be very tempting to become quite lazy. When really we need to take the technology that we're having and be proactive, be social with it. Keep picking up telephones, keep writing emails that are still full of questions and full of explanation. Using the Skype to really engage with people, and just not letting technology make us into just kind of a bit lazy, really, just kind of losing our social function and social skills. With things like like WhatsApp, for example, that's obviously massive at the moment. It can make you really tempted to just kind of send a WhatsApp message for work or whatever you're doing, when really you should be picking up a telephone and having a real good conversation about these. So yeah, I think that's a really, really good point as well. Excellent, thank you. So, okay, so having a look at your career then, you've obviously had a very successful career and you've been really enjoying it so far. So this might be a difficult question, but if you could change anything about your career, what would it be and why?
There are two things that I would like to change. Well, with hindsight, a life science degree opens many doors in the pharmaceutical and CRO industry. And as I said, I almost landed here by chance. So even if you can progress in your career without a life science degree, that would really, really help. I have a scientific background. In Italy, at least where I studied, we have different types of high school. And the one I attended is the scientific one. So I had biology, chemistry, anatomy. And that sort of education helped me in my daily job. However, I see people who come from linguistics, as I did, but do not have the science background, are being a bit lost. There are a lot of things they don't understand. So yes, the life science degree really, really helps you progress. You can start as a CTA and then quickly become a monitor, and from monitor project manager. A lot of CRO actually demand that as a certification for progressing. The other small thing that I would change, I would have liked to travel more with the CRAs.
Yeah.
So as I said, I only managed to go on site once, and it was a great experience because I touched literally what it means to be on site and doing patient work. So I would have insisted more on trying to have me accompany the CRAs on the sites and meeting the doctors and trying that sort of liaison. Although I would not have liked the CRA job because they travel too much. So once in a while is fine.
Yeah. No, I think being able to travel in a role and having opportunities to travel is an excellent privilege. Not just for the traveling itself, but to see different people from different cultures and working with them and helping them. It's just such a great experience. I definitely really enjoy meeting all kinds of people, and I think that's fantastic. And the life science degree, working in the pharmaceutical industry, I can imagine. Obviously, you may feel it'd be a big help, but it sounds like as well that when you're working within the position, that you do learn a lot as well. So although you feel the science degree would have given you some good grounding, you've had plenty of opportunity to obviously like learn from others, things that you would have learned at university doing that kind of degree. Would you say that's right? Or
yeah, it's right, but sometimes you just start from a junior position, a junior CTA, and then you have to read the protocols, and then you don't understand what even a molecule is if you didn't have some basic chemistry. And you know the word, you kind of know what that is, but you don't really know how that interacts with the proteins and the hormones and everything in our bodies. So I think that actually helps people more junior. People more senior will have learned in a couple of years.
Yeah. Of course.
all these things. As I said, asking questions.
Keep asking those questions. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. That now brings us to our quick fire round, where I'm going to ask you a few questions in quick succession, and I'd like to answer them as quick as you can. A bit like the game that Phoebe played with friends, where she asked nice and quick to get quick, honest answers from people. So, Katia, are you ready for our quick fire round?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Let's go. All right, Katia, here we go. Quick fire round. Question 1. What is your favourite movie?
Oh, there are a lot, but if I have to take it down to my top 3, that would be Inception, Big Lebowski, and Little Miss Sunshine. They're very, very different, but I like a lot different things.
I can definitely second Big Lebowski. That's a great film. I love that. Question 2. Favorite holiday?
That'd be Christmas, because it brings back again the magical feeling of when you were a child and you still believed in Santa. And as I said, magic. I'm repeating myself. It's just Christmas. There are no other words.
I love that answer.
It's going back in time.
Yeah.
Being a child again, and having a child is even better because you live Christmas through their eyes.
Brilliant. I love that answer. So many people say things like, oh, going to Rome or Hawaii, but you come out with Christmas, and I think that's probably the best answer for that question I've ever heard. Christmas is the best holiday. Brilliant.
It's a holiday, right?
It is, absolutely. Of course, it completely counts. I love it. What has been your most influential book in your career?
I read a lot, but career-wise, and that would be a very, very weird answer that you hear, it will be Zero Limits by Joe Vitale. And it sounds a bit like a new agey thing, but there's a very key message there, which is aim for the sky. There is no limits to what you can do. So that's the message I got back from that book. Just try and aim as high as you can, and then you will find a way to get there.
So that's Zero Limits by Joe Vitale, yes?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Go out and buy that book.
I hope I pronounced that name well.
Don't, yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, go ahead and have a look at that book then. It's a book about just pushing your boundaries and living life to the max. Is that correct?
That's what the message that I got, but there's also another message in there, but I would just leave to other people to find out what it is.
Keep it a mystery. Cool. Go get the book and find out what the other message is. What is your favourite song?
Another tricky questions. I have a lot of favorite music and songs and bands, but I thought about it a bit. That'd be The Cave by Mumford and Sons, which is a song you can interpret in many, many levels. It could be enlightenment and deliberation. It could be the end of a hard relationship. I read some interpretation on the internet about that song, and not only like the lyrics, but I also like the folk banjo rhythm that it has. But it's a great song, I think.
Do you know what? I thought that album was brilliant as well.
Yeah, I have all the albums, and
so
Sign No More is really good.
A big fan then, yeah. Cool. No, it is a fantastic album. I think my favourite is probably Lion Man from that album. Again,
I was in two minds between The Caves and Lion Man. And
Cool. So what's your favourite, say, hobby or your favourite thing to do outside of work?
There are many, as I said, reading and music, and you can see here behind, that's part of my comic book collection, and I love comic books and I like drawing. So
when you say comic books, are we talking Marvel, DC, that kind of thing, or?
that kind of thing. You can see mangas at the back. You
Yeah.
can see graphic novels. You can see Italian comic book series that have a very specific design and
Wow.
character visual sketches. It's everything basically.
That's cool. I like that. That's cool. That's cool. I must admit, I'm a big Marvel geek, big Marvel fan. And it was the movies that got me into it. But I've got comic book encyclopedias as well. So I definitely have been inspired by it more recently as they've become such a big thing, of course.
Yeah, it was the other way around for me. First, it was the comics, and then the films. That's why I said I watch a lot of films.
Cool. So yeah, the comic books got you first, and then the films later. Cool. Okay, then, Katya, that brings us to the end. So I just want to ask you one more question, okay? What is your final piece of career advice? What's the one and final thing you would like to say to any other clinical trial administrators who are currently watching this video right now? What advice would you have for them in helping them with their careers?
I think that can be summarized in a saying, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. Which doesn't mean dressing up a Batman or a Catwoman. It means just decide what you want to do in your career and do everything you can to get you there. So, for instance, I would like to become a project manager. So I'd liaise with them, support them, try and get delegated some of their tasks. Do whatever it takes to get you where you want to go.
I love that, and I love your interpretation of that phrase, because a lot of people just assume that it's talking about dressing up in a suit and it's all about appearances, where actually it's a metaphor for believing in yourself that you can get the job that you want. Yeah, that's how I interpret what you're saying. So yeah, would you agree with that?
I do. I mean, it can be taken literally.
Yeah.
I mean, we have casual Fridays. We get jeans and funny t-shirt at work on Fridays. So you don't have to literally dress as a project manager. Sometimes they even have funnier t-shirts than CTAs. But I take it as a metaphor. Just try and get you into the frame of mind in my case, the project manager has. Try and behave like them. Try and learn as much as you can to get there.
Brilliant. Katya, I just really want to thank you for such great advice today and for such strong messages. You've been a brilliant guest on our show. For anyone else watching, if they have any questions or would like to ask you anything further, can they connect with you on LinkedIn? Just to talk, maybe ask you questions about what they've seen today. Would that be all right?
That would be absolutely all right.
Cool.
Not
Excellent.
easy for me.
Cool. So again, anyone watching this, you're always more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn as well to ask any questions about anything you've watched today. Katya, again, just thank you for being a guest today. Please do like, subscribe, share, or comment if you're watching this video. And pass on the message of that people are just delivering to help inspire others about becoming successful in their careers. Katya, thanks again. Looking forward to seeing everyone on the next video. And yeah, thank you very much. See you soon. Cheers, Katya.
Thank you, Dan.
Bye.
Bye.